Compendium Podcast hosted by Leadership Books. In just a moment, our host, Joseph Baker, will be joining us, along with a very special guest. Before we get started, I would like to introduce you to Joseph. He's a podcaster, event producer, writer, speaker, and audience builder. His passion is to help authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs build their audiences to monetize their leadership. Won't you please welcome our host, Joseph Baker.
Well, welcome everyone to a very special episode of the Compendium Podcast by Leadership Books. Today we have Andy Craig. In spite of major challenges and setbacks, Andy Craig went on to become a highly successful and a top speaker and trainer. His message appeals to individuals and companies around the globe because it shows them how to achieve more in their lives. His message about how to break through limiting beliefs appeals to everyone. Andy Craig Speaks was started with the desire to help individuals and companies break through their limiting beliefs and create the results they desire. Andy, welcome to the Compendium Podcast.
Joseph, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Absolutely. Where are you tuning in from today, Andy?
I am in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I should say, in the Broken Arrow, which is a suburb. So if anyone's familiar with that, it's actually Broken Arrow.
Oh, very nice. I'm not too far south. I'm in the North Dallas area, so could probably get to you in a few hours drive.
Wonderful.
But yeah, welcome to the podcast. And, we're going to talk about a few different things today, but we want to kind of kick it off by talking about your book. And so let me read just a little bit of a description of your book, and then we'll go from there. So you have this book. It's called Passion Power: Discover the 3 Indispensable Keys to Your Success. And in this book, you talk about the 3 key areas in creating the success that you seek. And you start with this question, and the question is, are you settling? What a powerful question. And you share your own journey of pursuing your desires in life. And then you talk about these 3 keys to empowering your success. Number 1 is you talk about your past, you talk about your provision, and you talk about your purpose. So what's the big idea in this book, in your words?
The big idea really comes down to purpose. And I start off with the question, are you settling in your life for what you think you can have versus what you desire? Because to me, that's where I was years ago. And I won't get into that story right now. But really, in my own experience, there are far too many people that are settling, whether it's in their personal life, their work life, their business life, health, family, it doesn't matter. We are settling in life. We're not going after what we truly desire. And I use that word desire by design, and I go into that in the book, and I'm happy to go into that here if you want. And what I really talk about is, well, I want people to understand desire is critical for anything that we want in life. You just want something, you might get it, you might not get it. But when you desire it, you go after with everything that you have and everything that you are. And then from there, I go into the 3 Ps, your past, your provision, and your purpose, in that might be holding you back from creating the results that you desire in your life. So that's the real big overarching theme of it. And of course, I can go more into detail as you'd like me here. But what I've discovered is that people don't know who they are, which is why purpose is so important. Once you dial in on what your purpose is, you got to figure out what's driving you. You also got to figure out what's holding you up. And for many people, it's their past. And I like to talk about the past as it's not something that holds you back, but it's something to actually propel you into the future because you've learned from some things that have taken place. And your provision is, so many people feel like they don't have whatever it is that they think they need to move forward in life. And I talk about how provision can show up in so many different ways. It's not just money, which is how I thought for years. I thought provision is money. Provision is not just money. And I talk about in the book how the type of provision that showed up for me in a very critical moment.
Wow, it's very powerful, very powerful. What was the inspiration behind this book? Basically, how did you discover this problem? How did you observe this?
It's been a variety of things. I mean, it's not one overall encompassing thing. It's kind of been pieced together. One of the things is I was stuck in a rut. And this is part of my discussion on purpose. I was stuck in a rut, and I was stuck in what I consider to be a dead end job, working in a call center. And I woke up one day, and I just look at it from this way. I was in chat and just leaning back, talking to someone in chat, going, what do you want? What do you want? Get out of my face, get out of my face. Just burned out. That's where I was. And I had been trying to search for jobs, both within the company. It was a major corporation. So it's not like I didn't have any opportunities there. I just didn't want to play the corporate game and do what they wanted me to do. So as a result, I kind of pigeonholed myself. And I tried sending out my resume to other places, and I just couldn't get anything. And I had this epiphany one day. And that epiphany was, Andy, if you're not satisfied with the quality of the results that you're getting in life, you need to re-examine the quality of the questions that you're asking yourself. And that just went, oh, what? And I'll say it again, because there's someone that probably needs to hear that. If you're not satisfied with the quality of the results that you're getting in your life, you need to re-examine the quality of the questions that you're asking yourself. When I had that insight, I had to re-examine what it was that I wanted in it. And so that sent me on a quest that night, and I figured out what it was that I wanted, and I went after it. And that led me to figuring more closely what my purpose was, what my past was all about, how to use my past to my advantage, not holding me back, but actually propelling me forward, and also what my provision looked like. And over the course of time, I pieced all these three nuggets together. So I've got your past, your provision, and your purpose. That's actually the order it appears in the book. I talk about it in reverse order in my speech there, but in the book, it comes in that order there. And that was really what drove everything to this book. And I wanted people to get that in written form, not just in oral form. So that really how everything came about there.
That is really good. Tell us a little bit about an aha moment you had, maybe when you were writing the book, something that might have even surprised you, something that came out.
When I was writing the book, an aha moment, that's honestly, the aha is the one that I just shared with you there, because that was really the key for me in going through all this. And writing the book, it was really a compilation of things. And I had to really narrow things down. I mean, I had a lot of ideas going on, and I had to narrow down all these different stories, all these different ideas, figure out what was important, what was not important. I was just reading through it again because or skimming through it to figure out what I had in there, because I haven't read through it in a while myself. I mean, it's my book that talks about it, but I more deliver the oral version. I don't talk about everything that's in the book when I'm speaking. So it was really a matter of figuring out what was important and what was not important. And some of them were redundant, and some of them were just simply not all that important. And the epiphany was really, I had some really good stories, some really solid insights to offer people. And what I've discovered, at least for myself, and probably many others can relate to this, is I've got imposter syndrome. People have it, especially most people that are speaking. And that imposter syndrome means I'm not good enough. I don't have enough experience. I don't have enough know-how. I don't have enough of fill in the blank to really make an impact in the world. And as I shared this message with those that were closest to me, I realized my message is special and it impacts people. And that's really what I wanted to get out of this book and share with people is I'm special. You're special. One of the things I talk about in there is how everyone is a masterpiece created in the image of God for a specific purpose. And people need to hear that. And that's one of those key insights, is that this message drives home for a lot of people that don't realize just how special they are. And that's what one of the things that really bubbled up is how special each individual person is. And they need to hear that, because we're in this society, in the media-driven world, in this area where people are told, you know, they're told how wonderful they are with the finger. You can imagine the finger there. We're given that finger on a regular basis, not necessarily actually the literal finger, but basically that's what people's attitudes are. If you can't give me what I want, then I'm not going to give you what you want. Therefore, you are fill in the blank, the worst person, whatever. We get fed all that all day long. Trust me, been there, got it, get it daily. And we need to hear that we are really special, that we're awesome, that we're created for a unique and special purpose. And I got all these ahas of these stories that really are going to touch people's lives as I was writing through it. So I hope that answered the question there.
Oh, it's really good. And you've written this book. You also seem to speak quite frequently on this topic. Give us a, I mean, you don't have to name names or anything, but give us a real world example, somebody that just gave a testimony, how they've been impacted by your book, some sort of, a way that you've helped someone.
Sure. I can't remember the gal's name right now, but Akashwa, Ashandwa, something like that. She's from Africa, and she was here in Tulsa, and she asked me to mentor her. And I was, after I spoke one day, she's like, wow, you just impacted me phenomenally. Will you be my mentor? I was kind of caught off guard because usually people want to know you over the course of a period of time. And I went, well, yeah, I'm happy to mentor you here under these specific circumstances here. And this is before the book came out. And so she said, okay, cool, we'll go through that. And once the book came out, she immediately purchased it. And she was like, this is going to be my driving factor. This is my mentor. He is awesome. So that was really one of the key moments there, is because she was so impacted when I spoke at the organization that she saw me at. It really drilled home for her, and she wanted to know more, and she's trying to break into speaking herself. And I said, yeah, I'm happy to help you in here, follow these guidelines here. And she did that. And she chose to get the book, and she's like, okay, I'm cool. From there.
That's great. That's great. So beyond the book and beyond speaking engagements, obviously you take those.
Yes.
How else do you help people?
Well, I've got coaching program. I've got what's referred to as the Purpose Accelerator that I have right now. And here in just about 3 weeks, actually 3 weeks from yesterday, I'm going through a process of getting certified as a Ziegler coach as well. So I have that particular coaching program to offer as well. But between now and then, I've got what's referred to as the Purpose Accelerator. It's a 13-week course, and it takes someone through the process of identifying what your purpose is in life, figuring out what's holding you back, and giving you the tools that you need to move forward in your life so you can create the results that you want. And what I like to say is, when you go through this program, by the time you're done with those 13 weeks, you're going to need a telescope to see just how far you have come. It's that transformational. And I'm using the information that I myself have benefited from, so that my life has gotten from point A to point B, basically. I share those same tools in that particular process. And it's a fabulous transformation there. And people get a lot out of that particular program. It's called the Purpose Accelerator.
That's really good. You seem to have the ability to help a lot of types of people. But if you had to summarize sort of in one sentence, who's that ideal person that you would love to help?
Oh, absolutely. Great question there. My heart's desire is to help men that are struggling with who you are, struggling with that sense of there's got to be more than this in life, that they're struggling with the sense of identity. And it's men that have been around the block a little bit. I like to call the age range to 35 to 50. And I only use that age range of 35 because from my own personal experience, we men have our head stuck in an orifice that for far too long until we hit age 35. That's when the head gets removed and we're like, oh, that's what life is about, kind of a thing. So you've got a little bit, now that's not a hard age, but that just gives a general guideline there.
Sure.
But really it's men that realize that they're looking for something more. Not quite sure what that is, but they know there's more to life. They know there's more to serve their family, more to serve their community, more to serve their church, more to serve what they are created to be. And maybe they've got an idea, maybe they don't. That might be part of the issue. They don't know exactly who they are. And that's really who it is. It's on my heart's desire, because from my own perspective, in this nation, really around the world, but I'm going to focus in on this nation here, we have a man problem. And what I mean by that is we have a lot of male genders walking around. We don't have many men. And what I mean by that is we men have been, for the most part, emasculated. We live in a very feministic society where we pump up the women and we knock down the men. And that's what, I mean, it's been going on for decades now, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I couldn't even tell you how long, as long as I've been an adult at least. And we need to have men that are not afraid to stand up and vocalize the truth, what they determine that the truth happens to be. And because what I've noticed, and this is not to take anything away from women that are watching this at all, but what I have found is that women pay attention to men that are secure in who they are and where they're going. If you're not secure in that, they're going to run all over you. But I remember sitting in a church service years ago, and the pastor was there talking, saying, hey, all of you men that are out there, if we have women that come to us as a pastor, say 10 women come to us, and they want something done on this, all it requires is one man to stand up with those women, and we take notice of that. That's how strong male leadership is. That's how strong we men can be if we choose to engage. And right now we've got an epidemic of a lack of men in this nation. We got a lot of male genders running around, but not a lot of men. We need men to rise up, men to be fathers, because we've got a lot of men that are missing their fathers in life. There's a lot of issues in this nation that are stemming from the lack of men that are leading their children, leading their boys, leading their girls, because girls need to be led by their fathers as well. We have an epidemic going on here. And what I want to do is address that in the men so that they can rise up and be who they are created to be.
So for those of us who are listening and watching this episode today, and they would like to connect with you personally, how would they do that?
2 ways. You can go to my speaking website, which is andycraigspeaks.com. Or if you want to learn more about the Purpose Accelerator and you want to take a deeper dive into what that looks like, you go to theandycraig.com, fill out the form there, and that'll connect you with my calendar. We can go ahead and have a discovery session and see whether that's a right fit for you, because it may not be a right fit for you. And a 30-minute discovery session, we'll figure out who you are and where it is that you want to go and whether this is a good fit for you. So andycraigspeaks.com or theandycraig.com.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much, Andy, for joining us today for this very special episode of the Compendium Podcast, hosted by Leadership Books. For all of you listening, please be sure to check out leadershipbooks.com. We'll find over 2,200 authors at this time on that site. And be sure to connect with Andy online. Andy, thanks again for joining us. Thanks for adding value to our audience today. And we will catch all of you in the next episode.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Joseph.
Thank you for joining us for today's broadcast. I do hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And be sure to visit us online at leadershipbooks.store. There you'll find the works of some of the finest thought leaders today. And be sure to tune in here each week to gain even deeper insights from one of those leaders on the Compendium Podcast.